as J. Michael Straczynski might say, and so it begins. What's the story, guys? It's Eric here. I just want to give you my take on the absolute culling that's gone on in the upper echelons of DC's editorial. First off, I got to give props to Comics Artist Pro Secrets. All the screenshots that you're seeing on this video have come from Ethan's live stream on the issue that he did. The reason why I'm doing that is twofold. Basically, one, I don't want to give clicks to Bleed and Kill because I don't want to reward Rich Johnson. But number two, I thought it was a wonderful juxtaposition between the absolute elated joy on Ethan's face at this news being breaking. I tried to cherry pick all the best gesticulations that he got up to, because the guy was basically dancing around his basement at the news. And I can't blame him, because basically everything he said for the last 2 years or so has finally come to pass. So you can use the screenshots to read the article. It doesn't cost us anything in terms of benefiting Bleed and Cool, and you get a laugh out of Ethan's looks. I'd advise you to actually go stream his stream, because from about 5 minutes on, it's utterly hilarious. I mean, the guy's just having a field day. Personally speaking, I'm absolutely delighted, because this is what we need to see happen in the industry. You know, a lot of people slag off the mags Versaceos of the world, but they're not the problem. The problem isn't mags, the problem is the people who hires mags. And that's what a lot of these guys were in the upper echelons of DC were. They're like the senior editors. They're the guys that contribute to where the stories are meant to go, and marketing. So if any real change in the industry is going to happen, it's going to be by tackling those guys first. And thanks to AT&T basically coming in there with a bean counter, it looks like it's going to happen. I left making this video a little bit longer because I wanted to see if there's any more developments, and actually today, from what I've seen with these people gone, you're talking about a full third of DC editorial being sacked, which basically means all the books those guys are running are probably under the cosh. And that means also the creative teams that are on those books are probably due to be let go soon. The basic end game of this thing is going to be, I'd say, DC paring back its output to probably 15 to 20 books. Like, that might sound really harsh, but if you think about that, that means if you're getting 5 comic books a week, you could probably get DC's entire outlook in 1 month. And that, you know, that's a hell of a step up from a collector's point of view. I mean, like, there'll be a lot of people that thinking, oh, I don't want to buy this book, or I don't want to get that much because it's costing too much. Now you can get the whole universe. And that's probably going to be tempting to a lot of long-timers who might come back and benefit this. And you're also going to see a concentration on established characters. So it's going to be the Batmans, the Supermans, the Wonder Womans. They're going to get back to what sells in those. So your really obscure books, they're probably gone. But you might see a Firestorm series get launched, you know, and actually be taken seriously. But getting to the guts of the article, what you're basically seeing is Bob Harris is gone, Bobby Chase is gone, Andy Curry is gone, which is absolutely fantastic news. You know, like, I just can't believe that guy not only didn't get sacked but got a promotion after what he did to Vertigo. I mean, if you're going to talk about brand destruction, there right away is a glaring example of that happening, and he actually got rewarded. So him being sacked gives a good indication of what way they're going to go with the company. You know, and I can't underestimate, you know, just how big of a seismic shock this is going to be for the industry, because they're now talking about probably massive amounts of layoffs in terms of the creative team. So you're probably going to see the page rates for books go down, because there's just going to be so many extra artists and writers out there competing for gigs. So right away this thing will have knock-on effects for Marvel, because I mean, Marvel will be able to cut their fees too. To explain how this thing probably started as well, it's probably worth examining what's going on behind the corporate situation thing. If you look at DC and Marvel, unfortunately what's happened to them is they've pretty much stopped being competitive publishing businesses in competition with each other, and basically became IP farms for major corporations like Disney and Warner Brothers. And what this basically meant is that they could be lazy, they could get complacent, they didn't have to produce anything. Because in the case of, if you look at Superman, DC makes more money out of, and Warner Brothers, who owns them, makes more money out of Superman t-shirts, out of Superman comics. So it doesn't really bother Warner Brothers what the state of the comic books are, just as long as they publish them in order to keep the trademark, in order to produce the other ancillary products. It basically meant that Warner Brothers became a sugar daddy to DC, and likewise with Marvel, with Disney. You know, like, the plus side of this should be that if you've actually got decent creative teams and, you know, decent driven editorial and corporate, that you should actually get some great products taken out and taking a chance producing really innovative comic books. But what basically happened was they got lazy. They just produced trash after trash after. Case in point, look at Captain Marvel. There's like 8, 9, 10 revamps of that thing. In a normal competitive environment, that book would have been just cancelled. That was the end of it, and they'd give another figure or another character a shot. So while any actual benefit they had to begin with in terms of how it helped out with the books, after about 10 years of being in this situation, it just basically led to complacency and a massive amount of fat building up within the organisations. You're talking about editors earning 100, 150,000 a year for basically sitting their arse and doing nothing. So how did we get to where we are? Well, basically in the case of DC, their owners, Warner Brothers, got bought over by AT&T, and AT&T is up to its tits in debt. It is really necessary for them to restructure their owings. So the days of DC being run as basically an IP firm are over now, and now it has to actually make money. And they've been sending the bean counters, they've been sending the accountants to have a look at this from top to bottom, decide, no, we're slashing here, we're slashing there, you're not producing this, we're going to concentrate on these characters instead, and going forward you all have to be profitable. It's a major kick in the arse to those guys who got used to the situation as it was for the last half decade or so. But now they're basically getting back to where they were in the mid-80s, where they had to compete in order to get the best talents and in order to actually pay the wages of people in there. So this is why so many people head up in editorial are gone. This is why so many editorial in, the 30% of their normal staff are going to go. This is why you're going to see a massive cancellation of books and relaunching on reorientations of new ones. And this is why you're going to see things like DC Direct, which is their apparel type stuff, like the models and that's going to be licensed out to somebody like Hasbro or Mattel. My money would actually be on Hasbro, because Hasbro's been doing some great stuff with Marvel in terms of their Legends line, and I can see them doing just as good a job with DC. So this is major news. This is basically the reignition of the comic book industry as an actual industry, instead of just being some basically puppy farm for a major conglomeration. How this affects Marvel is pretty soon they're going to be in the same position. Right now their sugar daddy is Disney, but Disney is struggling. You're not hearing a lot about it because basically nobody wants to piss them off, but Disney gets most of their money from the parks and most of the stuff that they sell through the stores, and they're all down massively. Like half the Disneylands in the world are still shut as far as I know, and they're not making any money. None of the movies are being released, which is a fair chunk of Disney's bread and butter, and some of the ones that they have released have been flops, like Mulan. As far as I know, that hasn't performed at all. They've taken out a multi-billion-dollar loan in order to keep their organisation going, and I reckon it's going to be a very short period of time before they're in the same position that AT&T is, and that they're going to have to turn around to Marvel and say, right, we're going to cut back on these books, we're going to cut back on this nonsense, you need to be profitable. And Marvel will be doing this right in an atmosphere after DC has done all the moves it's going to need to do in order to maintain its viability. So we're looking at massive upheavals here. You look at other companies like IDW, like I said, it just lost its president that they brought in. He was only in the job for like 5 days. Apparently he must have done something, because they sacked him pretty quick. If you look at Valiant is basically after closing its office in New York, which I don't think they needed anyway, so it's a bit of an extravagance to have them, but still, it's not a good look, as Heather Antos would say. Speaking of which, I actually wouldn't be surprised if she hires Andy Curry to bring him in to give him a job, which would be hilarious, because it'll probably be the death knell of Valiant too. So right now we're looking at massive upheaval within the entire industry. Apparently on Twitter, people are melting down over the whole affair. I'm not on Twitter because it's another cesspit of cancer and I don't want to have anything to do with it. But lads like Ethan have been having absolute field days. They've basically been proven right and are running around saying that Comicsgate has won. It is undeniable though, this is massively a major event, and it does look like a refocus from the companies to being actual companies competing to publish comics in competition with others instead of being sorry about that, got a message in there, instead of just being a farm for IPs. It's going to be very exciting for the next couple of weeks to see how this all pans out, as the reality of commercial practices actually kicks back into an industry that's got really lazy. So there you go, guys, there's my take on the whole affair. I just wanted to say as well, sorry it took me so long to actually do a video. Like I've been saying in my other vids, I've been staying over the man since she's got out of hospital to keep an eye on her. The most technically sophisticated thing she's got in the gaff is a TV, and it's an old cathode ray one, not even a flat screen. So I mean, I had to try and get stuff built up so I can actually do broadcasting and stuff, and I got a computer in, everything was up and running, and then HP sent a fucking BIOS update and completely killed my connectivity. So I've been trying everything to get that thing up and running, and in the end I had to do a hard factory reset on the thing and basically lost all the files and stuff that I had. But I'm back up and running now at least, so I should be able to do a video more for you too. So if you like this, guys, like, subscribe, share with who you want it. Let us know what you think about the whole affair. Like I said, personally think it's the best thing that could have happened to DC. It's a major kick in the arse. It's going to get them back to doing business as usual, as opposed to just complacently pumping out pop in order to keep trademarks. And from a content provider point of view, I think it's going to actually be very entertaining for the next couple of weeks. So take care, guys. Look after yourself.